Let's talk some more about chapter 249 of JJK, but obviously, spoiler warning, if you're not caught up, keep scrolling. First up, shout out to Captain Cabinets for this gorgeous coloring of Okkotsu's domain expansion, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about this knot. And if you saw my previous video talking about chapter 249, you know that I asked you guys if anyone knew what specifically that knot was, because I wanted to kind of like analyze the symbolism. Well, I got a bunch of responses, so thank you guys for that, first of all. But now we know that this is the Mizuhiki knot, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's used in like traditional wedding ceremonies and stuff, which makes a lot of sense given this domain, right? And it's used because the more you like tug on it from either side, the stronger it becomes. So of course, again, in true mutual love, or whatever translation you're using for this domain, it's perfect. It represents the bond between Okkotsu and Rika, right? Their marriage, if you will. And I also like the contrast of that bond, like tying everything together, and yet the domain itself is like ruins and rubble because, you know, we know the trauma both of them have been through to get to this point. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Yuji and the soul attacking and the potential curse technique that there's been a lot of conversation about since this chapter came out. Well, we now have TCB Scan's version of this translation, and according to it, Sukuna says, the brat in his soul seizing punches, Seizing, to seize. He'll come trying to tear me apart from Megami. So to me, that's not just talking about the fact that Yuji can perceive and attack the soul. Again, something we've known him to be able to do since early in this manga with his first fight against Mahito, right? So to me, that wouldn't be this like reveal and Yuji has finally found his role because he can do this, because he's always been able to do that, right? So to me, this soul ability, soul manipulation, whatever you want to call it, is something beyond just Yuji's ability to perceive and attack the soul. Especially if we combine all of that with the context of this panel, where some sort of body swap or soul swap has happened. It just makes even more sense that Yuji has some sort of soul manipulation ability. Now, I'm not saying he has a curse technique necessarily, so I'm being specific with the words here, but he has some ability related to soul manipulation. Now, maybe it is a curse technique. I'm just saying we don't know yet, so I don't want to make any assumptions. But if he does, you know, I'm not saying it's idle transfiguration or anything, but it does make the whole Yuji Mahito relationship with them being foils to each other all the more interesting if Yuji does end up having a soul manipulation ability, right? I'm you. So yeah, for my money, we are not talking about Yuji's ability to simply strike the soul. I think there's more going on here, but please let me know y'all's thoughts on this as well. And then finally, as far as was this panel in this chapter, I don't think so. Nothing really seems to line up with that blurry image 2 pages from this chapter, in my opinion, but I honestly haven't looked if anyone's done like an in-depth analysis and has found anything that could look like it. Also, there didn't really seem to be anything that would elicit this response from this chapter. So even though we were told that a few chapters ago it would be within the next 2 chapters that have happened, it doesn't seem like this happened yet. So maybe that was just wrong and it could be coming in the next chapter or very soon. But anyways, let me know y'all's thoughts if you think this did happen. Finally, special shout out to Charles, Olu, and Smalls. Thank you all so much for the support.